The decision to get divorced is a big one, especially when children are involved. And on the one hand, you've got your own health and happiness to consider, and yet you can't ignore the health and happiness of the people around you and the people that are impacted by a decision like this, be it your spouse or your children. And so how do you navigate when it feels like you're stuck in a zero-sum game where either you're trying to get what's important to you at the expense of other people, or potentially staying in a relationship for the sake of other people and it comes at your own expense? And what you're probably wanting more than anything is some clarity around what is the right thing to do in this situation. And when wanting clarity, oftentimes what people do is to wait. They wait for clarity to come, hoping that time will somehow reveal what the right direction is to go. And the bittersweet news is that you have to create clarity. Time will not necessarily bring you clarity. And oftentimes when a relationship is challenged, time only makes things worse because it gives the tension and the conflict and the resentment more time to take root, and then it becomes harder to undo. So what does it look like to push for clarity, to create clarity in this situation so that you know whether to go left or right? And what I see with many, many men is that there is still a desire for this relationship to work. There is a desire, there is an appetite for repair and for improvement, to restore some trust and some connection and some desire, even if it's been gone for a really long time. But there's not a whole lot of confidence that there's a road that can be walked that will get you from where you are right now, which is oftentimes marked by a lot of pain and suffering, to where you want to be at some point, which is going to be marked by, connection and peace and ease in your mind, in your body, and around this partner. And so this is part of the challenge, right? Is that the desire is high, but the probability is low. And it's very, very difficult to walk away from a relationship when that desire is still high. So oftentimes creating clarity looks like continuing to make new efforts to improve and to repair this relationship, even if it doesn't feel like that's likely. Because what you either need to do is bring that probability score up, where you find some new opportunities to actually work with your spouse on the real issues in this relationship to make some real progress so that you can stay, or to continue to prove that these challenges in the relationship are not something that the two of you are going to be able to overcome, in which case that desire score will start to come down. Because when you make that decision to divorce, it really should be the result of low desire and low probability. If that desire is still high, I would encourage you to continue to work with that. And this is where some of the art is in relationship repair, is what do you do when you've already tried the things that have already occurred to you to try, whether that's couples counseling, whether that's prayer, whether that's embarking on your own personal growth journey, reading books, listening to podcasts. Maybe that involves some individual therapy too. If you've done all of these things and are doing all of these things and it's still not improving the relationship, then what else can you try? And there are always things to try. And for me, there is this whole world of therapeutic intervention around interpersonal conflict and relationship problems. Getting into this world of attachment, getting into the world of trauma, learning about emotional intelligence, learning better communication skills. And yet, then there's a whole nother body of work that lands a bit more in the men's work space that oftentimes doesn't get talked about in the therapy office, and yet can oftentimes unlock new opportunities for you in your relationship. Things like looking at emotions, not through just a general emotional intelligence lens, but looking at emotions in terms of how they make the most sense to men, so that you can start to acknowledge whether you've got a problematic relationship with anger or with fear or with sadness or with shame that's getting in the way of connection in your relationship. It could be looking at things through the lens of masculine and feminine polarity and how you've been showing up in this relationship or potentially not showing up in this relationship in a way that generates a sense of desire and allows you to provide some structure for your partner and for the relationship to relax into. We can even get a little bit more esoteric and just look about the journey of a man's life and what does it mean to continue to mature into your leadership from an emotional and a spiritual and a relational standpoint. These are all separate conversations, different conversations than the ones that you may have with your therapist. And what I have seen time and time again is that in stepping into this men's work arena and using some of these different tools and different concepts to approach challenges in your relationship, one of two things is going to happen. You will either create new opportunities for repair and growth in your relationship, meaning that you'll have a better idea of what's been getting in the way, and you'll be able to craft an action plan about how to work with that to get to a better place. Or in having tried everything that the therapeutic realm has to offer and many of the things that the men's work realm has to offer, if none of that gives you forward movement in your relationship, then you will start to see that desire score come down to match up with that low confidence score. And at some point you will look at me and you will simply say, James, I've done enough, right? Like I can feel good with myself walking away at this point because I know that I have truly tried. I have brought everything that I reasonably could to this relationship and it's still not working. And at that place, you can actually move into divorce with a degree of grace, as funny as that may sound, which will actually benefit that entire process. So hopefully this has been helpful. I know that it's a really challenging spot to be when it feels like, again, moving in the direction of your happiness comes at the expense of other people, or staying in a relationship to make other people happy comes at the expense of yourself. But I just caution you again, not to stay stuck in a situation like this, waiting for clarity to somehow just show up at your doorstep, but to actually get involved and to create the clarity that you so desperately want and need. Thank you.